Oh, hello. Today we have kind of a juicy unhaul, I think. There's some kind of tea spilling happening later in the video around a couple of topics that have been hot button issues here in the last few months on BookTube, which I will say also, I've read a lot of these. I'm very proud. Most of these are things that I've read and I'm just passing along. But before we get into all that, I do want to take a minute and thank GlassesUSA.com for working with me on today's video. So as you guys know, I have been using and enjoying GlassesUSA.com for the last few months, and it has been absolutely wonderful during lockdown. I am immunocompromised, doing my best not to leave the house, so I do have my first vaccine shot, so that's exciting. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting, I'm wearing glasses all the time while I'm working from home, and I wanted a way to get some new pairs without having, to take an unnecessary trip out of the house. So luckily GlassesUSA.com reached out to me right around that time, and I decided to give their service a try, and I loved it. Basically, the way GlassesUSA.com works is that they take the middleman out of the equation when you are buying your glasses. You go to their site, and they have, I think, like more than 6,000 choices for you for your prescription eyewear from all of the brands you can think of, like Ray-Ban and Oakley, all those, as well as their awesome in-house brand, which is where mine are from, which is like a Toto and Muse and Amelie E. They have great options, both name brand and house brand. I uploaded my prescription, which I got through this really cool app they have where you can take your existing prescription and figure out what it is with the app. That worked great. Then I used their try-on tool to figure out what I thought might look good on me. This is my newest pair, which I decided I thought looked really cute. I love the purple, I love the big circle shape, and I placed my order. They arrived no problems. I got text messages when they were being made, when they were going through quality control, when they shipped. No muss, no fuss. And yeah, now I have all of the different kind of glasses options I could want. I have this new pair. My favorite of my original ones I got, I think, are the Bolognas. I really like the way those looked, but I also have a cute cat eye version. I have my, what I think of as my 1950s news anchor version. I have a pair that is orange, which is the color of my alma mater. So I just have all kinds of options now, and I really enjoy the service, and I feel super comfortable recommending it to you guys. So if you would like to try GlassesUSA.com, check out my affiliated link, which is in the description box below, to get 65% off your first pair. And thanks again to GlassesUSA.com for working with me on this video. So as I mentioned, we have some tea today, and I think maybe we'll start from the least juicy and work our way to the juiciest. So first, I've got a pair. Well, actually, I've got like a whole little stack of thrillers. How many? Woo, like 5. Ooh, okay. They just keep on coming. Okay, I've got 5 thrillers, mystery thrillers I'm unhauling, and all of these, I actually liked all of these fine. There's one I would say I liked the least. Maybe we'll start with that one, but the rest of these, I liked them fine. I don't feel the need to like hold on to them. They weren't memorable enough to me for that. But first, The Hunting Party from Lucy Foley. I talked about this in my end of 2020 disappointments video. Lucy Foley and I seem to have very similar taste in our settings, but her actual trope combos in the books themselves just don't ever seem to work for me. I don't like her character types or her sort of like plot twists that she tends to favor. So while the writing is very nice, this just wasn't as good as I was hoping it would be for me. So I'm gonna move this one along. I actually like The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware pretty well. This is an isolated closed circle mystery on the seas. And I do have a couple of critiques of this. Like, it didn't fully work for me, but it actually ended up working, I think, a lot better for me than it does for some other people. I just think this is a very divisive book. But I enjoyed but didn't love it. And since, it's a paperback, which is not my preferred format, I decided that I can just move this one along too. Then I've got Watching from the Dark by Githa Lodge, which is the second book in a series from her, following a police department in, I think, somewhere in the UK. And basically this is a really cool premise. It's a guy is watching his girlfriend on a webcam. She steps out of frame and he sees her murdered, but he doesn't tell anyone. So why hasn't he told anyone? That's sort of the big question. And I'm actually excited to go back and read the first one in this series. Like, I like this one fine. I think I gave this 3.5 stars. Enjoyable, and all the character stuff was working for me. Its ultimate ending wasn't my favorite, but I am definitely intrigued to go back and give the first book in this little police procedural series a try. Then Hunting Game, which is another like snowy one. This is from Helena Thurston, and I actually really enjoyed a book she wrote called An Elderly Lady is Up to No Good. It was short stories about like a very murdery old lady. I think in my review I said something like, I want her and Miss Marple to be dropped in the same town and, you know, have like a cage fight, see who survives. I really liked that one, and this one was also good. The writing I enjoyed, and actually this is one of the few, this author seems to be one of the few authors from Scandinavia whose crime fiction I enjoy. That doesn't, for whatever reason, just sort of I can't tell if it's the translations or just the way they're written. Something about them often doesn't quite work for me. I like her writing. This one just in particular wasn't that memorable to me, but it was totally fine. It was fun, but I just don't feel the need to hold on to it. And then Black Jersey. I actually think that this is a really interesting take. I think this is one that's neither fish nor fowl. It's not murder mystery enough for me, nor is it like a sports contemporary book enough for me. So it is a murder mystery set on the Tour de France, which is a really cool setup. I just think it doesn't quite have enough of either of those two elements for it to be wholly successful. So not my favorite, but definitely one I'm glad I gave a try because it was a little bit different than most of this kind of book that I've read. So that was all of the thrillers. So many of them. Then we have From Blood and Ash. This was our February pick for the Blades and Bodice Rippers book club. And I enjoyed this-ish, kind of. This wasn't my favorite. I gave this 3 stars. The longer it lingers in my mind, the more I think I should go back down to a 2.5. But I did like ultimately kind of the ending of it, so I wanted to give it a little something extra. I don't know. Anyway, it's getting unhauled because I definitely don't plan on continuing in the series. It was okay. I am pretty annoyed that this won the Goodreads Award for Best Romance in 2020 because it was such a strong category. Like, there were so many great romances published in 2020, and I'm very annoyed that this is the one that won. But don't love it, don't hate it. We'll get a rundown from someone else as to what happens in subsequent books, but definitely not one I feel the need to hold on to. Then I have a business book called The 7 Acts of Courage by Robert E. Staub, which I read as a part of my PDUs that I needed, like my ongoing educational credits for a certification I have. It was okay, not very memorable, but you know, it got me a couple of hours of educational credits, so appreciate it for that, but don't feel the need to hold on to it. And then 2 graphic novels. Both of these I liked fine, but neither of them, I don't plan on continuing in the series for either of them, and they were both just okay. Like, they were fine, but not great. The Banks by Roxane Gay and some others was sort of like an intergenerational family drama with like a heist element. A lot of promise here, but just not enough payoff, I didn't think, in this first one. And then the first episode of The Wicked and the Divine, the first entry in that graphic novel series. This one is one that I think would make a really rad TV show, but I don't think works as sort of like a written story. There's just not enough substance to it, in my opinion, at least from this first one. Oh, and then I decided I had a couple of academic books from when I was getting my degree in religion, my master's. One is about the New Testament, one is about the Old Testament, and I just realized I don't ever reference these. I don't really see myself ever referencing these again, and they're good, you know, for what they are. They're perfectly good, so might as well put them back into circulation so that somebody else can enjoy them in a way that I do not think that I will. So I'm gonna move those along. And then this is one I'm just purely changing the edition I have. So I got this really beautiful Penguin Vitae cloth-bound copy of Passing by Nella Larson. So I'm going to pass this along to someone else because this is an absolutely fabulous book that I think people should definitely read. 2 that I DNF'd. One is The Distant Hours from Kate Morton. This was just basically too overwritten in my opinion, and for how long it was, I just couldn't keep going. This was a part of a video I did with my friend Bethany from Beautifully Bookish Bethany. She gave it to me as part of a TBR swap, and sadly, this one did not totally work for me. But, you know, c'est la vie. Can't all be winners. I did definitely like some of the other ones she gave me. And then The Christmas Backup Plan by Lori Wilde. This had a lot of promise because I do love a Christmas romance, but this one in particular just did not really work for me. The authorial voice really didn't connect for me. It didn't feel, to me, it just didn't feel believable in terms of sort of the age of the characters who were being portrayed. There was sort of a lack of authenticity to the voice, in my humble opinion. So for that reason, couldn't get through it, and I'm gonna move it along. Then the only one of these, well, no, I guess a couple I have also not read, but purposefully, well, we'll get there. One I'm just getting rid of because I've realized I don't think of the philosophy books I have that this one is of interest. This was a big hot one when I was in grad school. A lot of my friends were reading this, and it's called The Beauty of the Infinite and Aesthetics of Christian Truth by David Bentley Hart. It's basically like a philosophy of Christian views of beauty. I just have other philosophical texts at this point that are more interesting to me than this was, but you know, this was all the rage in my grad school when I was in grad school. And then I guess the second juiciest thing I have to tell you is that I did have some ARCs that I unhauled. So I have some footage of me taking them to my little free library. And I do this once ARCs have been in my collection for long enough that I don't think that it's going to cannibalize sales to those authors. Like I try to wait at least 6 months before I unhaul them into the world. Though sometimes I do unhaul to friends if I think that they will like it earlier than that. But if I'm just kind of releasing them into the wild, I wait at least 6 months. So I just took them to my local little free library. Bing, bang, boom. Not that hard, even in quarantine, to do that in an ethical manner. And then the last category, and I guess maybe possibly the most controversial, is I have 3 books here from people who I don't want to platform. So 2 of them I've not read. One of them I have, but I don't feel a need to hold on to it. And maybe if I did not have a review platform, I might feel differently about this. I don't know. That's not the situation I find myself in. I find myself in the position of being somebody who other people look to for book recommendations and who, you know, I'm publicly talking about books in some way. And that for me gives a different sort of contouring to how I want to use that platform, which I would encourage all public reviewers to think through. So the first 2 are ones I have not yet read, but I don't want to read anymore, so I'm going to unhaul. First is House of Dragons by Jessica Cluess. I really did not appreciate the really kind of like violent rhetoric she used to get into a Twitter conversation with essentially about classics and what their place should be in modern education. I think there's reasonable people about that topic, but when it really crosses the line into like kind of very personal, very vitriolic attacks, that's where I personally just don't feel comfortable. So I'm sad because I've actually heard great things about this particular book, but I do not feel comfortable talking about or reviewing it on my channel. Next, very sad to report, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I have not yet read this book, and I sadly just am not going to because I'd heard some insinuations that she may have some kind of turfy leanings, but then with the whole JKR situation, which we will talk about here in a second, she kind of came out outright and confirmed those turfy leanings, and I am not comfortable with that. It is more important for any trans viewer of my channel or of my platforms to know that I don't agree with that than for me to read a short story collection from someone who believes those things. So for that reason, I'm also going to pass this along, which was a bummer. I was pretty excited about that one. I say that, it had been on my TBR for 2 years, but still, I was looking forward to getting to it eventually, okay? And then the last one is a really complicated topic, and where I have landed is that I am not reviewing or talking about JKR on this channel really anymore. I'm not showing her books in any of my backgrounds, etc. And any of the books that I have that I don't feel a specific emotional attachment to from her, I'm not even gonna kind of keep in my house. So I'm not yet to a point where I'm ready to release my first editions of Harry Potter, but I do feel like I had this little textbook thing that she did at some point. One was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. The other was Quidditch Through the Ages. I didn't feel a specific emotional attachment to this other than just having had it for a very long time. So I felt like, you know, I could say goodbye to this and have one less thing from her in my life. So I chose to do that. I feel good about those decisions. Like I said, I can't really give people advice about what to do if they're not a public reviewer, because I think maybe I just don't know how that would change what I kept, what I read, etc. But I just know that in the position I'm in, that to me feels like the right move that I feel good about. So there you go. So with all that being said, definitely let me know if you have any thoughts about any of the books I am saying goodbye to. Let me know how you feel about unhauling in general. Is it something that you do? Is it something that you have a really hard time with? I know some people struggle to unhaul. Definitely let me know that in the comments below. And thank you once again to glassesusa.com for working with me on this video. You can find my affiliated link in the description box below. So with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that that will do it. I hope you're having an absolutely lovely day today, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!